Hi everyone, welcome to another Pilates. Today we're going to focus a lot on our balance. Please make sure you've watched the pre-class information video first with all the pointers in about injuries, etc. And we're going to get started. So make sure you've got enough space around you. We're going to start with our setup. So bring the feet together. We're then going to turn the toes out. And we're going to take the heels out to join them. So just glance down, check your feet are where they're supposed to be, roughly below your hips. And think about grounding down in your big toe, your little toe, and your heels. So you're just equally distributing that weight through your feet. Coming up to our knees, we're going to make sure they're nice and spongy. So give those a little bit of a wiggle. Up to our hips. We're going to make sure our hips are nice and level as well. So imagine you've got two little headlights on the front of the hip bones there. They are on, they're facing forward and they are level. Inside the pelvis, we're going to imagine we've got a really full bucket of water. So if we do tilt one side to the other, we're going to spill that water out. So you may just need to tuck the pelvis forward and backwards a couple of times just to find that midpoint for you. Our midsection, we're going to think about creating that little bit of pressure in there. So we're going to pull the belly button in roughly about 30%, just creating that tension in that midsection there. Our ribs, we're going to think about knitting the bottom ribs down in towards our pelvis. So a lot of the time we tend to flare the ribs out a little bit. We need to make sure that the top part of our abdominals are engaged. So that's going to help that, pull that down. We're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to pick our shoulders up towards our ears. We're going to push them back and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth. Fantastic. So in through the nose, pick the shoulders up, push back, breathing out through the mouth. Now, if you want to close your eyes while you do this, you can. I'm going to make the circles slightly bigger each time. Just relax the arms a little bit as well. And just really think about trying to scrunch the shoulders up towards the ears. So we're just mobilizing the shoulders here, warming the shoulder joint up. And just slowing and controlling our breathing. Filling the body with oxygen. I'm going to do two more. Slide the last one down the back. Fantastic. So we're going to do our toe points, which we have done before. I want you to transfer the weight onto one foot. Pick a side. We're going to do both sides. We're then going to take the other foot and we're just going to draw a line along the floor with our toe pointed. We're going to bring that back in and then we're going to take that out to the side. So we're trying to keep the body nice and still. We're then going to take that back. So we're doing 3 points, forward, to the side, and then back. We're still breathing in through our nose, breathing back out through our mouth. We're keeping the movement slow and controlled. If you want to lift the foot up off the floor, you can, if you feel comfortable doing that. So just bring that forward. It doesn't need to be too high. You can just lift it up. I mean, you can even draw the toe along to the end and lift up at the end. Forward, to the side, and back. We're keeping the knee spongy that we're stood on. So we're not locking that knee out. We're thinking about having our weight equally distributed in our foot too. And we're trying to keep upright as much as possible. In through our nose, out through our mouth. Once more round, forward, side, and back. Fantastic. So pop the feet back down, check your setup. We're going to do the opposite side. So breathing in, breathing out, drawing the toe along the floor. We're trying to keep the leg that we're moving nice and straight. So the one that we're stood on has just got a little bit of a bend in the knee. The other leg is nice and straight. Again, just drawing that toe along the floor, keeping the movement slow and controlled. In through your nose and back out through your mouth. Keeping that belly button pulled in as well. I want you to think about lengthening up the crown of the head towards the ceiling. So we're lengthening up that spine. Again, if you want to lift the toe up off the floor, you can. Weighting down through the standing foot, nice and equally. I'm going to do 2 more. So 2 all the way around. In through our nose, out through our mouth. Bringing that back in. Fantastic. Might need to give your legs a little bit of a wiggle. We're going to do our hip circles next. So we're going to go back to that first leg. So just transfer the weight onto that standing foot. And we're going to pick our knee up in front. We're going to take it out to the side. We're going to bring that back in and we're going to place it down. Fantastic. So we can keep your hands by your sides, or if you want a little bit more balance, you can bring those up to the side, or you can bring them up in front, whichever you prefer, whatever's easiest for you. Also, if you need to hold onto a wall while you do this, you can. If you want to make it tougher for yourself, you can actually stand on a cushion and just create that instability there in that standing leg. Or a yoga block. Yoga block's quite fun as well. We're trying to keep the knee the same height all the way around. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Try and keep the movement the same tempo the whole time too. So you're not picking it up really quick, taking it round slow and then dropping it really quick, or the opposite way around. I'm going to do 1 more. We're going to switch sides. Fantastic. So transfer the weight onto that opposite leg. Bring that knee up, breathing in, breathing out, taking that knee out, bringing that back. Again, pop the arms wherever you need to. Keeping the belly button pulled in as well. This is going to help with our balance. We're keeping the ribs knitted down. And we're lengthening the spine up towards the ceiling too. Fixing your gaze on a point as well does help. So if there's a picture on the wall, anything like that, something not moving. And you'll find one side is definitely better than the other. Again, that's completely normal. Out, back in, keeping that tempo nice and slow. I'm going to do 2 more. Take your time with that movement. Place her back down and give your legs a little bit of a wiggle. We're going to do our foot pedals next, which we don't think we've done in our 30-minute classes. It's something we do a lot of in our 60-minute classes. If you do want to have a go at those, they're on the Patreon account. We're going to start with our setup again, so make sure the feet are underneath the hips, have the knees a bit wiggly. Place your hands on your hips. We're going to take a deep breath in. On the out breath, we're going to rise up onto our toes. We're then going to drop our one heel down. We're going to bend the other knee forward. And we're going to switch. So we're coming up, dropping that knee down. Fantastic. So the aim is to keep the pelvis nice and level. So this is now when I want you to imagine you've got that bucket of water inside your pelvis. And you're just slowly lifting it up and placing it back down. So as the one heel's coming up, the other one's going down at the same time. Otherwise, you end up kind of going like this. And we're going to spill water everywhere. Okay, keeping the movement nice and slow and controlled. See if you can spend more time with the heels off the floor than on the floor. So as soon as the heel touches down, we're bringing that back up off the floor. We're trying not to take too much time there. But just challenge yourself, keeping the belly button pulled in. Remember to slide the shoulder blades down the back as well. You're breathing in through your nose. You're breathing out through your mouth. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to do 1 more each side. And we're going to place both heels back down on the floor. We're going to do our arm float. So we're going to do both heels at the same time and float our arms. Now, if you want to leave the arms out, you can. That's absolutely fine. We're going to take a deep breath in, we're going to come up, and we're going to bring that back down. So breathing in, breathing back out. We want to keep the movement nice and slow and controlled. And you want to think about not just dropping the heels back down to the floor as well. So you're slowly placing the heels back down, and you'll feel the muscles in your legs and your calves working this time. If you want to take the arms higher, you can. And if you want to just leave the arms out and place them on your hips, you can do that too. If it becomes too much, you want to go back to the single feet foot pedals, you can take that back there as well. If you want to challenge yourself, just try holding it up at the top for a little bit longer and then bringing that back down. Maybe twice as slow as you bring that up. So if you've got a second or two to come up, take that down even slower. Just pick the level that's right for you. You'll find your shoulders are probably going to get a little bit warmer too. Keeping the belly button pulled in. We're breathing in through our nose. And we're breathing back out through our mouth. I'm going to do 2 more. And just challenge yourself, see if you can come up a little bit higher on those feet. I'm just going to float that all back down. Fantastic. So we're going to do some rotation. We're going to do it slightly different to how we normally do it. I'm going to turn on a slight angle so you can see me. Now, I want you to place one foot in front of the other. Now, if you can, we're going to have it in like a tightrope position. Now, this can be quite difficult, so if it's a little bit too much, just take it out slightly further and just see if you can have the feet relatively close together. The heel's going to be roughly in line with that big toe. Now, I also want you to think about bringing some weight onto that front leg. So you're going to be equally distributed between both feet. You're just going to have the knees bent slightly. We're going to lengthen up through the spine. We're going to breathe in. We're going to pick our arm up. Now, this is going to be the leg that's back is going to be the arm we're lifting. So if you've got your right leg back, you're going to have your right arm up. Breathing in, breathing out. We're just going to float the arm back. We're going to take the shoulder and we're going to watch that hand. And then we're going to bring that back up again. So we're rotating through the top of the spine. So we're challenging our balance here. We're just seeing how far we can turn that back. If you can, oh, I'm falling over already. If you can watch your hand at the same time and do it, it's extra challenging. And you do tend to wobble a little bit, but that's absolutely fine. We're keeping that nice and slow and controlled, taking the back of the hand back, watching the palm of the hand, and then bringing that back. So we're twisting the shoulder around as we go. The hips are staying forward. We've got a nice little bend in both of the knees to keep the weight equally distributed. Take that back. In through our nose, out through our mouth. The next time, we're going to take that all the way around. So all the way around to the back, we're going to bring that all the way up and over, all the way around to the front again. And again, this can be quite challenging. If you want to try watching your hand as you do it, it really does. It can be quite difficult, but it's quite fun. Bringing that all the way around. Twisting that round. Mobilizing the shoulder here as well as the thoracic part of our spine. We're going to do one more circle and then we're going to switch sides. So taking that all the way around and keeping the tempo of the circle the same all the way. Lower that back down. Fantastic. So we're going to switch feet. So take the other foot. I'm going to turn around the other way. We're going to take our other foot in front, our one behind. And again, if you can have it in a tightrope position so your heel's next to your big toe, fantastic. If you want to take it slightly further out to the side, or you can take it further out more than that as well if you need to, if you need more of a balance. Think about weighting down through the feet equally. So you're going to be putting a little bit of a bend in that front knee and the back knee. So just pull that weight forward slightly. Lengthen back up to the spine, pull the belly button in, breathe in, lift that arm forward. And then bring that back. So the foot that's back, that's the arm we're going to be using. If you've done the other side, it's not too much of a problem as long as you've done both sides. So again, if you can watch your hand as you do this, challenge yourself a little bit further. Rotating that shoulder round. We're twisting through the waist. So keep the belly button pulled in. Think about grounding down through the feet, through the big toes and the little toes. I'm trying to keep the chin parallel to the floor as well. So we're watching the hand, but it's really with our gaze more than our whole head. If you want to move the head, you can. That makes it a lot more difficult. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. Keeping the movement slow and controlled. Hips are trying to stay forward. On our next one, we're going to take that all the way around. So bringing that up, bringing it over, all the way back down to the front. Again, if you've got shoulder issues and this is too much, just go back to the 180 degree circles. It's not a circle, the semicircles. If you want to increase, just watch that hand as you go round, keeping that slow and controlled. If you do wobble, it's a good sign. It shows that you're challenging your body. And the only way we change is if we challenge. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to float that back down again. Fantastic. We're going to do our lunges next. So we're going to when we go down, we're going to pretend to be tying our shoelace. So it's not going to be a wide lunge. We're going to start with quite a narrow lunge. And then if you do want to increase, you can take the foot further forward. So start with your setup again. Make sure your feet are underneath your hips. We're going to pull the spine up towards the ceiling. We're keeping the belly button pulled in. We're just going to stand that 1 foot forward. So just like a pace forward. We're then going to bend the knees and we're going to pretend to tie our shoelace when we bend down. We're going to bring that back up and bring the foot back. Now, if you want to clasp the hands together, you can do that. Drop that down, try to place that knee on the floor. Push through the feet, bring that back up. So we're keeping the belly button pulled in. We're doing a nice little hinge movement. So we're keeping the body upright and we're bending from the hips. So just a little bit of a hinge movement just to change our center of gravity there. Now, if you want to make the lunge bigger, you can. Just take the foot slightly further out in front. So you can do a big step, bring that down. If you do have knee issues, you can just bend that slightly, bring that back up again. Keeping the lunges nice and controlled, pushing through both feet will really help. So if you do have, unless you have serious knee issues, if you just get a bit twingy every now and again, you know you can do them, then it's really worth doing lunges to strengthen the muscles in the legs. But obviously consult with your medical professional before you do anything you probably shouldn't. So breathing into the nose, breathing back out through the mouth. I'm sure there's probably quite a few ankles and knees cracking right now too. I'm going to do one more each side. Make sure you're checking that setup every time you come back to the center. Bringing that back up. Fantastic. You might just need to give your legs a little bit of a shake. We're going to do single leg RDLs now. So there's a few different ways of doing these. A lot of people do these in the gym with barbells or resistance bands. We're just going to do body weight. And there's, again, lots of different options for you. So we're going to start with our setup, making sure our feet are where they're meant to be. We're going to transfer our weight slightly onto that standing leg. Now, the leg that we're going to be lifting up off the floor, You can just take it behind and you can leave it on the floor. So your toe can still be on the floor if you need that support, absolutely fine. Or we can lift it up. So I want you to think about lengthening up to the spine, keeping the belly button pulled in. Now you can have the hands just loose in front of you, or you can clasp them in front of you as well. But we're going to do a nice little hinge movement. So we're not bending from the top, we're bending from the hips here. So the back staying nice and straight. We're going to breathe in on the out breath. We're slowly going to lean forward. As we do, we're going to lift that leg. And we're going to bring that back up. And if you want to keep the toe on the floor, it's literally just going to be a hinge movement. Bring that back up. So we're bending the standing leg slightly. We're bringing that back up. So we're working at back of our leg muscles, so our hamstrings, our glutes, all of that. Bringing that forward, bringing that back. So we're keeping the body nice and upright, just having that hinge movement from the hips here. So this is staying nice and still, not tucking the tailbone out, we're keeping that under, bringing that back up. Again, if you want to lift that back leg, you can. If you want to take the arms out to the side, if that's more comfortable for you, take that a little bit lower maybe. Bring that back. You can also hold something, so if you do want to make it harder for yourself, you can hold dumbbells, you can hold a barbell, anything you've kind of got handy with a little bit of weight. Bag of sugar would do. Just hinging from that hip joint. I'm going to do 2 more. Keep them nice and slow and controlled. Kicking the plank. And we're going to pop the leg back down. And we're going to go the opposite side. So give your legs a bit of a wiggle if you need to. Transfer the weight onto that opposite leg. We're going to take that leg behind. Hands clasped or arms out to the side. Keeping that nice and upright. Keeping the belly button pulled in. We're squeezing that glute. And we're just hinging from the hip. So it's kind of like we're taking a bow almost. Just hinging straight from that hip. And just take it as far as you can. So don't overstretch. If you just need to hinge slightly, keep that foot on the floor. Keeping the standing leg bent as well. If the foot is on the floor, you may just need to bend that front leg slightly further. Breathing in through your nose. Breathing back out through your mouth. Keep squeezing the glute, pulling that belly button in as well. Weighing down in the feet, so make sure the weight is equally distributed. I'm going to do 2 more. Fantastic. Place both feet down and give your legs a bit of a wiggle. Lovely. We're going to do a couple of roll downs and then we're going to do a couple of bits on the floor and we're going to stretch. So most of our work is now done. Check your setup. Lengthening up to the spine, up towards the ceiling. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out, tucking the chin, rolling that down. The vertebrae by vertebrae down towards the floor. Breathing in at the bottom and then breathing out on the way back up. Make sure the knees are nice and spongy. Finishing with the shoulders and the head. Okay, we're just going to do 1 more and then we're going to finish down. We're just going to dangle here for a second, take a couple of breaths, place the hands on the elbows if that's comfortable for you. And putting a bend in the knees as well. Okay, place our hands on the floor. I'm going to come into our kneeling position. And we're going to do our swimming on all fours. So this is going to help with our balance as well because this is using our core. So we're going to have our knees underneath our hips, wrists underneath our shoulders. We're pulling that belly button in. We've got a nice flat back. The gaze is going to be at the fingertips. We've got our neck in a neutral position. We're going to breathe in. On the out breath, we're going to draw that line along the floor with our one hand. Bring that back. And we're going to switch sides. The hand forward and bring that back. And our legs, extending the leg back, bringing that back. Opposite side, bringing that back. Fantastic. Now to really challenge your balance, we're going to do opposite arm to opposite leg. So if you haven't tried it before, we're going to give it a go today. Make sure you're pushing for the shoulders. You're keeping your pelvis and your shoulders level the whole time. So we're not overextending. We're not kind of doing a Superman position. We're keeping the torso nice and level and still. So imagine you've got a tray on your back, really slidey, one of those big silver slidey trays. And you've got maybe wine glasses on there or pints of beer. And you're trying to keep them nice and level. You don't want them sliding everywhere. It's your first round after lockdown. And you don't want to ruin any of that. You don't want to spill them all over the floor. That would be a disaster. In through the nose, out through the mouth. We're going to go one more each side. Bringing that back in. And we're going to come back into a kneeling position. You just need to wiggle the wrist if you need to. I'm going to take a breath. We're going to do our toe taps. We're going to do these seated this time. So again, we're challenging our core and our balance, but whilst we're on the floor. So we're going to stay sitting up. And if it becomes too difficult for you, you can come down onto your elbows. We want to be right on the sit bones. So we're lengthening up, we're leaning back slightly. So this is already starting to engage our core. We're going to have our knees bent up in front of us. We're going to have our toes pointed, just lightly tapping the floor. Now you can place the hands lightly on the thighs, or if you want to take the hands out in front, you can. You can also place them lightly on the floor as well. We're going to breathe in, and we're going to lift our one leg, and we're going to place that back down. We're going to do the opposite side. So breathing in, breathing out, lifting the leg, placing that back down. So you want to think about keeping the upper part of the body nice and still. Keeping the core engaged. If you can, lean back slightly further. Lift that leg up. We're moving from the hips, so we're not bending the knee, we're bringing the knee in towards us. Keep the belly button pulled in. If you need to take it back a level, so if you need to place the hands on the floor, on the thighs, sit further up, you can. Or if you need to come down onto your elbows, you can do that too. Breathing in through our nose, breathing back out through our mouth. I'm going to do 2 more each side. And place the feet flat on the floor. I'm going to do a roll down, so roll up, from seated. We're just going to do 1. We're going to take it nice and slow. Have the feet flat in front, knees bent up. If you want to place the hands on the thighs, you can. I'm going to go straight in with my hands up. We're going to lengthen up to the spine. We're going to breathe in. And on the out breath, we're really slowly going to lower ourselves down to the floor. So as slow as you possibly can. C curving the spine. We're just rocking off that pelvis. Bit by bit. All the way down to the floor. Keeping that slow and controlled, even when we get to the shoulder blades, keeping that slow. And then just stretching that out. So just take a nice long body stretch, fingertips to toes, just to stretch out those front muscles. Take a couple of breaths here. Now we're just going to place the hands by our sides, and we're going to do our hamstring stretches. So if you want to bend your knees up, you can. We're going to take one leg up into the air and just place the hands lightly on the thighs. Think about engaging that front quad. So you're pulling that kneecap up towards the pelvis. This is going to help pull the leg further in towards us. You should feel a nice stretch down the back of the leg. Okay, I'm going to take the leg across the body. You should feel a stretch down the outside of that leg. Back into the centre, take that all the way out to the side. Just support that leg with the hand underneath. Feel a stretch on the inside of the thigh. Breathing in and breathing back out. Bring that leg back into the centre, place that on the floor. I'm going to pick the other leg up. Again, just placing the hands lightly either side of the thigh. Think about pulling that kneecap down towards the pelvis, engaging the quad, and just pulling that leg closer, using the muscles in your leg. So we're not pulling the leg in with our hands, we're trying to actively use those muscles there. Okay, and take the leg across the body. You should feel a stretch down the outside of the leg. Now think about keeping the pelvis flat on the floor for this, so we're trying not to lift the pelvis up. Okay, bring that in, take that all the way out to the side and just support the underneath of the leg. And you should feel a stretch down the inside. Bring that back into the centre, place both feet flat on the floor. I'm going to take our arms out towards the side. I'm going to pick up our right leg, cross that over our left, and just let the knees drop towards the left hand side. And just take a couple of breaths here. Bring the knees into the centre and cross that side. Take our left leg, place that over our right, let the knees drop towards the right hand side. Bring that back into the centre. I'm going to uncross the legs. We're just going to roll over onto our side, push ourselves up into a comfortable seated position. Lovely. Just take a couple of deep breaths here. Bring yourself back into the room. Let the blood flow back around the body. And thank you very much for joining us. As always, any questions, comments, just drop them below. Like the video, follow us on all our social media channels, subscribe as well so you get notifications for the next class, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.